All right, let's take a look at the same sort of thing in a couple Go programs and see how we connect to it programmatically. Um, these programs are checked in with assignment one, which are your assignment, which, it's due today, but I'm not expecting everybody to get it done today. You're not going to get penalized if you don't. We just have to get together and get it to work. So keep that in mind, but let's look at the code that's out there. And I built this so that you can start testing and connecting to your database. The first thing is, for various reasons, I picked up the Mongo connection from the environment. I'm probably going to change these so you can also put this on the command line and run it that way. So if you're on a Windows system, you don't have to go in and tweak your environment to get this to work. But it has the default Mongo connection, which is no username. And the first thing I do when I set this up is I do this call ping to make certain that it's actually connected. Because the way Mongo connects is it sets some stuff up, but it doesn't really talk to the database until it actually does this ping. So after the ping, I check for errors. If it's not really connected, then I print out a success message. Now, there's a flaw in this code, but you'll see this corrected in later pieces of code. But basically, you want to make certain that you always disconnect, and this doesn't guarantee it because there's an OS exit before the disconnect. But there's no great harm. We're working with a test database. We'll get there on that. And I'll show you how to do that in Go code so that you always guarantee there's a disconnect. But all this piece of code does is it just tests your connection, basically, that this piece of information or your environment variable is correct. And that's the first thing that we did when we started up the Mongo command line client, is it basically connected to the database and did a ping. Now, the second thing that we did is we went and inserted, we did some things like show database and things like that, but basically we went and inserted some documents. And this second program inserts a single document. We'll do one that does multiple documents here in a second. But again, we've got the same kind of connection stuff with a ping at the top. And then a little bit later in the document, we have the stuff where we're going to actually insert a collection. Now, up here at the top, you'll notice that I've created a data type. And because of the capabilities of reflection in Go, this works out really nicely. We can actually create the data, create a variable with the data in it for a particular document. And we can do this call to insert one that has a context and a person. The context has already selected the database up here of MyDB and the collection person. So that tells it what database and what collection you're going to work with, and then you can sit there and insert stuff quite easily. Insert one just inserts a single document, and I think I ran that once already, but yeah, it inserts a single document. Again, we still have the problem of the disconnect could be skipped because, yes, if there's some problem inserting the document, which there can be other non-fatal problems, the program just exits and it doesn't run the disconnect, which eventually these things collect. I think the default in Mongo is for these unknown connections that have not been removed to persist for 3 days. So these things will add up and cause you problems if you do this enough. But you can have thousands before it causes a problem. So that's how you insert a single one, which I showed you the insert one interactively. Next, I'm going to take a look at inserting multiple ones and doing it from a file. So let's go over to that one. All right, this one is in the insert set MongoDB directory on assignment 1. And it's going to have some of the same things going on as it did earlier with, the data type is the same. I haven't done anything fancy to the code to, put it in a separate file and share the file, because it just makes it more complicated to do explanations like this unless we put it all together in one file. So we get through the connection. We create the same thing where we're going to tell it that we're going to use MyDB and the collection person. And instead of doing a single person, I'm going to create a list of persons. This is a slice of persons that I declare it, and I'm going to read that in from this file. Let's take a look at the file. The file is in JSON. So the file has a couple persons in it with some names, some ages, and where they are. We could have a much longer list, but basically it's got persons in it, and I'm going to read that in and decode it. And basically that's what this section of code does right here, is it opens the file and reads it in as a JSON file and decodes it. Then there was a little bit of friction between Mongo's interface and what we expect. We actually have to convert this to a person list interface, which is this weird slice of interface to make it work. And that's what this loop does, is converts it to the correct data type. Then eventually we be down here, instead of insert one, we're going to call the Mongo interface, the database interface, with insert many and this converted data. Now this takes care of normalizing the data into a standard type that we can pass every time to this function, because Go is a strongly typed language. And we get back that we inserted a set of documents, and we can print out the insert result IDs. Notice that this has gone from ID to IDs pluralized here on the insert result. And we've inserted that set of things. So now we have a program that we could actually take and just put in data each time and insert it. Now, I have skipped a detail in there in the file, as in if you have data types with other than just integers, strings, and floats, how do you get those in? Go does provide an interface to extend its data types for a JSON file so that you can insert other data types, and Mongo provides the capability of inserting other than those data types. Specifically, I'm thinking about dates, and I'll eventually provide you with an example of how to do that, because we're going to want to take a look at those dates. But at the moment, that's enough to see kind of what the interface looks like and how you connect and disconnect inside a Go program, which is basically what I showed you from the command line.